Welcome back to episode 5 now of our NFL episodes here on the KSPorts podcast. I'm one of your two hosts, Marco Indri, and I'm here with co-host Samson Kimoni. What's going on, Samson?
Sunny day here in Kirkwood and ready to fire off another podcast.
Get another episode going. Yeah, unfortunately, this is Friday, the day that we're recording this, so we did miss the Chiefs-Broncos game last night. We'll kind of touch up on that. Why not? Unfortunately, my Broncos lost, and Samson's beloved Chiefs took home the W. But also took
not
home
really.
an L.
Not really.
Also took home an L and Patrick Mahomes, which we'll get into. But for now, let's get into the intro music. All right, so starting off with the Jalen Ramsey trade before we get back into that Broncos-Chiefs game and that whole dislocated knee. Jalen Ramsey traded to the Rams. All of a sudden, I mean, not really all of a sudden, but kind of, because the owner was coming out saying that he wasn't going to trade him. And then, lo and behold, we see this trade. Rams now don't have a pick for the next 5 years, from 2017 to 2021, a first-round pick, excuse me. So Jalen Ramsey just adds to that incredible Rams defense.
I mean, yeah, the Rams did get rid of Marcus Peters later.
Right.
Traded him to the Ravens for a player and a pick. But yeah, Jalen Ramsey, was weird that he was traded, especially since the owner came out and said, he'll be playing. He'll be part of the team, even though he didn't play against the Saints. So we'll have to see if Jalen Ramsey can improve that Rams defense, because that secondary definitely needed help. They didn't look nearly as strong as last year, especially with the huge loss last week. So we'll have to see if Jalen Ramsey can change that culture, because their line is still good. They still got Aaron Donald up front. He's still making
Dante
pressure
Fowler
up there.
at linebacker.
Clay Matthews, too.
Eric Weddle,
Yep. It's just they need help in that secondary.
I don't know if Jalen Ramsey's the guy. I would say he's arguably the best cornerback in the league this year, because he hasn't really outperformed a lot of other guys. And the numbers aren't really there this year, but he's still, I mean, like I said, arguably the best corner in the league this year, because he's still like 24 years old. He just hasn't had an incredible year yet. But, I mean, I don't think Jalen Ramsey's really the guy to turn this Rams team around. It's not like they really need turning around. I think they're 3-2.
They're 3-3 right now.
3-3. That's right. 3-3. And I don't think the defense is really an issue. I mean, yeah, they take out Marcus Peters for Jalen Ramsey. They up the defense a little bit because Marcus Peters was still a top 10 cornerback in the league, I'd say. But I think Jared Goff's the issue over in Los Angeles. We've bashed on him quite a few times. We don't believe in his contract, this and that. And we can get into that. The 49ers hold Jared Goff to only 78 pass yards in the entire game, 0 pass touchdowns. And keep in mind that the Rams had no Todd Gurley. So I figured this would probably be another 50-pass game from Jared Goff. I don't know exactly how many passes he threw, but I figured probably a 400-plus yard game. At least a couple of touchdowns with no Todd Gurley, but no, they were just outperformed by the Niners. And I would say that the Niners are legit, 5-0 now, first time since 1990. Niners looking good.
And this was a real shocker of how few yards Goff threw. I went back into the stats and tried to look. When was the last time Goff threw for under 100 yards? Last time was in the Pro Bowl in 2017, but in a real game, it was 2016, his rookie year. And that was against, again, the 49ers, against Kaepernick and Chip Kelly, guys who are long gone right now. So this was a really weird game for the Rams. And especially looking at how many few pass attempts he took. He had only 20. He had 24 pass attempts.
I was going to
say
that probably
game.
through 50. But.
So it was, and the last time he did that was like last year. So this is very weird. Maybe Sean McVay is not trusting him as much as the last couple of weeks. He hasn't done as much, but it obviously wasn't working. So I think the Rams right now have a identity crisis. They need to figure out what kind of team are they going to be moving forward without their MVP level player in Todd Gurley in the backfield. So we'll have to see, especially against now a tougher division with the Seahawks playing well, the 49ers coming out of nowhere. I mean, Garoppolo, I still don't trust him. He did have no touchdowns. He had 243 yards, 1 interception. I mean, he averaged about 53.4 QBR.
It's mostly the defense.
But it's mostly the defense. So we'll have to see what he does.
And I'll hit you with some, I love my stats. I'll hit you with some Niner stats here in a second about that defense and the main reason why they're undefeated still. But yeah, Jared Goff is, and here's some more stats going back to Jared Goff. He's thrown 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions through these first 6 games this year. That's atrocious, especially when you're given $110 million guaranteed. We can keep going back to that contract because it obviously reflects on your play. But over to the Niners defense, so far this season. Number 1 in pass yards per game. Number 1 in rushing touchdowns, which I guess is this is defensive stats. Number 2 in yards per game. Number 2 in passer rating. Number 2 in first downs per game, and number 2 in points per game.
Yep.
So up there in all those categories is huge. And it obviously shows Nick Bosa, Dee Ford, Richard Sherman. They walked all over the Browns, and they come in what was, in my opinion, a statement game versus the Rams. Same division and a team rival that is confusing, again, because we don't know how consistent the defense is going to be. They make it to the Super Bowl last year, and then they don't perform whatsoever. And then, again, Jared Goff getting such a big contract and playing like butt, and Todd Gurley with the injury issues. It's so confusing. And now they're 500 for the first time in God knows how long. Because last year, if we remember, they started off the season 6-0. They were like 11-1 at one point. So, I mean, this Rams team's confusing. They had Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if it's going to do much. It'll help, obviously, come playoff time. But I don't know how much it's going to do for him. So, totally just clicked out of my notes here. So,
I don't know.
Let's go over to some more MVP talk,
All right.
Samson, if you don't mind.
Let's listen.
Because it's heating up.
Let's talk.
With Pat Mahomes getting this injury, Russell Wilson still hasn't thrown an interception. Deshaun Watson comes out on top of the Chiefs, which was last week.
That's true.
But is Deshaun Watson, and I'm going to ask you, Samson, because you're a Pat Mahomes guy, is Deshaun Watson ahead of Pat Mahomes in the MVP race currently?
I think Deshaun Watson right now is ahead of him because the Mahomes, first of all, is injured. So his stats over the last couple of weeks have gone down, and right now it's looking like he'll be out for a couple of weeks.
He's faced some good defenses
so
these
that
last couple
does
of
hurt.
weeks. But yeah.
But the Texans have finally started protecting Watson. He hasn't been sacked, I think, in the last 3 weeks. Or last 2 weeks at the very least. So right now he's playing like a superstar. 280 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have 2 interceptions, but he's now using his legs. 42 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. So I think Watson right now, he doesn't have a running game. I mean, Lamar Miller, I think, is out, so they don't have much of a running game. He has to throw to pretty good wide receivers, but I think he's carrying that team mostly. Their defense is pretty good, such that they could make a deep playoff run, but I think their team mostly relies on Watson making plays out there, which he is doing. And so it'll be interesting to see, especially since Watson is healthy. They're looking great right now. They have a pretty weak division. I think they'll definitely... Aside from the Colts. But we'll have to see if the Colts can continue to be consistent.
Right, and this week the Texans-Colts actually face off.
Yeah.
In Indianapolis, so it'll be an interesting
good
game.
Test.
And I agree. I think currently we can say that Deshaun Watson is ahead of Pat Mahomes, and I think solely for the reason that I think that they've had similar seasons, but that Chiefs-Texans game where, Watson ended up coming out on top, I think just really solidified him above Pat Mahomes currently in my MVP race. And then now Mahomes out these next 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know if you saw that.
Yep.
It was saying at least 2 weeks. Now they're saying 4 to 6 weeks with this dislocated knee.
I think the main thing they're looking at is if the patello, if it was dislocated, when they slid it back in, it went into perfect position, then it's only 3 to 4 weeks. If it wasn't, then it'd be more like 4 to 6 weeks, and they would eventually need a surgery in the offseason.
They were saying that there was no major damage, but there was still some things, and that 4 to 6 weeks is what they're aiming for. But still talking about this MVP stuff, Russell Wilson, like I said, still hasn't thrown an interception all year. I think he's thrown 14 touchdowns through these first 6 games. 100-plus QBR in every game this season. He's got 101 QBR when under pressure, which is leading the league. It's like 20 ahead of second place, who I believe is Deshaun Watson. So Russell Wilson's absolutely killing it. He's probably my favorite for MVP. Like I said in the last podcast, I believe it's a quarterback league. I don't think McCaffrey's going to be able to win it.
Yeah.
Being at 680-plus total yards, which is phenomenal, coming off this bye week. Or this is his bye week. But I think Russell Wilson will probably take the cake so far if the season ended today.
And I could see the argument being made for him as he pretty much doesn't have the quality of weapons that Watson has, because Watson does have Hopkins, a top 5 wide receiver, and other faster wide receivers.
Will Fuller had a phenomenal game.
Exactly. And he did add another great piece to his MVP case with his last win against the Browns on the road, coming back from 20-6. So I think that in this game he had 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 8.9 yards per pass. So he is right now on fire too. I think it will be a close race between them two, but mostly whoever keeps it up till the end of the season, I think wins it. And right now, I think Watson will because he just has better structure. He has his team has a better defense, so I think his team will just look better, and it will be easier to give him the MVP.
The Cowboys lose to the Jets unexpectedly.
Tough.
I did say in the last podcast, if you haven't heard it, I had a hunch. I had a feeling the Jets would take it, Samson. You know.
Hey.
I had a little feeling. I did end up predicting the Cowboys just because I wanted to play it safe, but I had a feeling Jets came out on top. Is it finally time to move on from Jason Garrett?
It might be.
I think that maybe if they lose this week, who they play, the Eagles, which is a division rival. I'm going with the Eagles. We can get into predictions later. I think maybe if they lose this week and they drop to 3-4 with them, below 500,
it might be time.
Jason Garrett's been has been nothing but average through his tenure in Dallas. I think it should have been time to move on from Jason Garrett a couple years ago. In my opinion, I thought it was going to end around the Tony Romo era and end of his era in Dallas, but Jerry Jones loves him. But I think it's probably time to finally move on. The Cowboys have won have won the division 3 times out of Jason Garrett's 9 years as head coach, but lost in the divisional round all 3 times. So again, Garrett's been nothing but average. They went 8-8 for like 4 years out of the 9 years. It's just gross. I think they need to get rid of him.
And Garrett doesn't have any excuses. I mean, Elliott still did his thing, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. It was his best game since week 3, so they should have won this game. But I got a better take. Don't sleep on the Jets, okay? This Cowboys defense secondary was pretty good. I mean, you loved this defense. They only have allowed 5 touchdowns this whole season, and 2 of them was against this team. With Darnold back, he had 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And these wide receivers, Robbie Anderson, finally hitting him. Robbie
Anderson's the guy.
125 yards, 1 touchdown, averaging 25 yards a reception. That's a quarter of the field.
I told you about Robbie Anderson.
They also got Jamison Crowder, Demarius Thomas, your old number 1 wide receiver.
He had like 3 receptions for like 60 yards.
Ty Montgomery. Yeah, but I'm saying that this might be the most underrated wide receiving core. They got number 1 wide receivers everywhere. They might be a little old, but they're still gold.
Robbie Anderson's only the number 1 guy because he has been in New York for the past few years. If he was a rookie, he wouldn't be the number 1 guy. It'd be Demarius Thomas. Demarius Thomas is getting old. He's not so much of a number 1 guy anymore, but on a team like New York, he could be.
And all these guys all have talent. I think they could, if they get with Darnold, it's going to be tough to cover this team because there's so many weapons. And not to forget even Le'Veon Bell, who can give you a reliable rushing game. So I think they could continue to upset a couple teams if Darnold can stay healthy.
Yeah, and again, I'm not very big on Sam Darnold. Sure, he had a big game. Sure, he goes in and beats the Cowboys. And if you ask any Cowboys fan real quick, what is the problem in Dallas? Anytime you talk about the Cowboys playing bad, Cowboys fans just get so upset. They come up with excuses for everything. So what's the problem, Dallas? I'm telling you, it's Jason Garrett, all right?
I mean,
Dak Prescott has been a little slow coming off after these first 3 weeks where he looked like an MVP candidate, and now it's been a little slow. It's been a little rough. Zeke's playing fine. The defense is playing fine. There's no real problem on the field other than Jason Garrett, the head coach. So I just wanted to say that because if you are a Cowboys fan and you're listening, what's the problem? It's Jason Garrett, I bet. So back to what was I saying?
You were talking about
Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold.
How great
he had a solid game.
Is,
he had a solid game. It wasn't a top 15 performance in my opinion. I mean, it's kind of obvious. It wasn't a great game by all means.
What?
But I mean,
what does he do wrong? What in your eyes makes Sam Darnold not that good of a
the numbers, and he just doesn't have that.
The numbers, 388 yards. What do you mean? 2 touchdowns and maybe 1 interception, but that's still decent numbers.
That's okay. That's 1 game.
Okay.
I'm talking about career
He's
numbers.
He's only played 2
games. This season, sure.
This season.
But he played a whole rookie season, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm going off of, is him as a player right now. Tom Brady, you can't talk about his career because he's 500 years old, so you need to talk about his 500th
that's true.
500th
I didn't
birthday.
say he was better than Brady.
No, I never said that.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying when we talk about like Tom Brady, you can't talk about his career because he's so old. But when we talk about Sam Darnold, who's played a year and 2 games, we're obviously going to talk about his entire career because
I'm just saying.
So I'm looking at his career numbers
so far, and that he's utilizing his weapons.
Yeah.
Unlike Mayfield, right now I'd take Darnold over Mayfield.
Yeah, probably because Mayfield's absolutely terrible, which we can get into.
I mean, that's true.
What happened to Baker Mayfield? All right, 11 interceptions in the team's first 6 games is most since 1984. 32nd ranked QBR. Should the Browns panic? They're 2-4 going into the bye week. Is it time for the Browns to panic?
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, Baker looks like butt. The head coach doesn't know what he's doing. Their receiving core leads the league in drop pass percentage at 18%, which coming into the season, they were like a top 3 ranked receiving core with obviously Odell, Jarvis, who's the tight end, Njoku's hurt, and then obviously Baker Mayfield throwing to him after obviously above average. I don't want to say incredible, but it was a good rookie year. And then the defense looks solid. I mean, they got Denzel Ward
on there. Myles
Garrett, obviously, who's still having a good year. So really, the defense, I mean, they're letting them kind of pass all over him. Myles Garrett's still getting to the quarterback. I think he has maybe like 8 sacks or something.
He's been still consistent.
But should the Browns panic? I don't think so. It's their first year with their new guys, with this new coach. Baker's still so young. I think Austin, another Kirkwood Student Productions member, for those of you listening that don't know Austin, he was saying that, I totally just lost my train of thought, of course, or he was saying that maybe they should trade Baker, which I think slow your roll.
Yeah.
Slow your roll a little bit.
Maybe give him a little
It's
time.
Baker's second year. He's only technically played like a year's full of games because last year he didn't even start like the first 7, I think. I think that maybe we slow a roll in the Browns. Yeah, we had a lot of high hopes, and obviously the Browns did as well. And Baker coming into the year was super excited to have Odell as one of his receivers. But again, Baker's still super young. A lot of that team's still super young.
Yeah.
Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, 2 guys we named on the defense, are both under 24. Odell is 26.
Yeah.
Jarvis is
They still
28.
got time, yep.
I mean, Njoku is still young too. Nick Chubb is a rookie or second year.
Yeah, I think they need to start putting in an offense like the Rams because I think they're making Mayfield throw way too difficult of throws. He can't hit those windows. Right now, he leads the league at 11 interceptions, and he had 3 in this game, which, I mean, that's surprising considering Winston and his interceptions, which I do want to talk about. But Mayfield, right now, they have a good running back in Nick Chubb. He's right now, again, had a great game, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I think they need to start at least incorporating the run game more often and doing more play action, maybe have him have more step back. That I'm right now
stumbling over.
But right now, I think they do need to put some pressure off for Mayfield. Let it do some more play actions, run the ball more often because right now Nick Chubb is running well.
The coaches, Nick Chubb is playing really well.
And they'll have Kareem Hunt back soon.
True. The coaches aren't really putting the pressure on Baker. I feel like it's more that offensive line. He's being pressured nearly as much as Russell Wilson is, but Russell Wilson's different. He, again, thrives under pressure. He's got 101 QBR under pressure. I never see him not scrambling. He makes throws on the run. Baker, on the other hand, once he gets out of the pocket, he's afraid.
Yep.
He throws it. It's a bullet pass every time when he's out of the pocket. It's a bad pass. Again, 3 interceptions last game, 11 interceptions through 6 games.
Yeah.
The offensive line isn't holding up enough. They did trade their starting left guard in that Odell trade, so they lose him. That's big. But really, I just think it's the offensive line. I think maybe this offseason they figure something out. I think that last year they had 2 bad offensive linemen, which you can work with 3 good offensive linemen, 2 bad ones. But this year they have 3 bad offensive linemen, 2 good ones, which you can't work with because there's 5 total. All right, when you got 3 bad, 2 good, it's probably not going to work out. And we're seeing it. Baker's under pressure too much. 32nd ranked QBR. That's absolutely terrible.
That's tough.
So I think we slow down. Browns are young. They're upcoming. 2-4 doesn't look good. They're probably not playoff hopefuls. Definitely not going to win the division, in my opinion. It's going to probably the Ravens. Steelers have a shot, they're looking like. But, yeah, the Browns are probably due to this season, especially compared to the expectations going in. But
you should look at
just don't panic.
But should we panic on Winston after this last game of having 4 interceptions or 5 interceptions, 400 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 fumble? And I think with Winston right now, he keeps flip-flopping. Like he'll have like a 300 touchdown game, 300 yards, and then he'll have this horrible game. And it's not the first time he's done it. His 5th 4 turnover game and no one else has had 2 or more in this time span. So he's right now, like, it's really a roller coaster with him. And so I don't know if they should trade him. I think they should hang in there. I still believe there's hope for Winston, especially after a couple good wins this year. I think there is hope for him.
I'm surprised you're saying that because I was just going to say we spoke too soon on Jameis Winston. All we did was bash on him in the early episodes.
True.
And now you have hope for him. Again, 5 interceptions. I don't know if I have a hope for a guy who throws 5 interceptions in one game. I know he threw about 50 passes. I mean, it was 40 plus, I want to say. He threw for 400 yards, but yeah, again, you throw for 40 passes, 50 passes, you better throw for 400 yards. But again, 5 interceptions. I don't really have a lot of hope. And I wanted to tie that into Mariota because, again, same draft class, I believe. And they come up a lot together in talks, obviously.
And they just benched him this past week for Tannehill.
So Mariota throws for 63 yards and 2 picks against the Broncos last week. And then he gets benched by Ryan Tannehill. And now this Sunday, Mariota will be sitting on the bench. So what's up?
Wow.
Mariota, Winston, they can't get it together. Interceptions left and right.
That's
Mariota
tough.
with the injuries. The O-line in Tennessee can't hold up. I mean, it's bound to be a similar situation like in Pittsburgh. Over there in Tennessee.
But Winston does have more talent, I feel like, than Mariota.
Especially
I feel like
this
Mariota's
season.
a bit more of a system quarterback, while Winston tends to make more plays on the run. It's just, I think he just needs someone who can teach him when to throw it away. Like, you don't always have to make a play.
And like you said, Winston's had a couple of good games. Mariota hasn't done anything for his team really this year. I think the first game of the year, Derrick Henry had a good game. Mariota may have had a pretty solid game, but since then, when they pummeled the Browns like 43-16 or whatever.
Yep.
But since then, it's just been a rough ride. And so maybe they turn to Cam Newton.
Maybe. Should have segued. Great segue.
Cam Newton might not get the job, the starting job back. So Kyle Allen, I wouldn't say is better, and I don't think anyone would say Kyle Allen's better than Cam Newton. But they are winning. And you did say last podcast, I want to give you some credit. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm big on that too. If Kyle Allen's making it work, and I did say this, that Christian McCaffrey running the ball, being the main focus, being the focal point, letting him run that offense is the way to win games, because when the Cam Newton was trying to do it, he was thrown for over 300 pass yards. It's good. He wasn't throwing for any touchdown passes. If he was, it was to Christian McCaffrey, of course. And when he was throwing that 25, 30-plus passes a game, he was throwing for a couple interceptions. It wasn't working out. They weren't giving as many touches as they should have to McCaffrey. And as long as McCaffrey can stay healthy, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let Kyle Allen do his thing, run that offense through McCaffrey. So Cam Newton, possible homes. Tennessee, we'll start off with, because Mariota played like trash. He's been in the league 4 or 5 years now. It's time to finally figure it out. All right, and if it ain't working, okay, we'll get you out of there. Ryan Tannehill isn't going to be the guy. I'll tell you that right now.
That's true.
So maybe Cam Newton goes to Tennessee. What do you think about Tennessee?
I don't like Tennessee too much, because at least from the point, I feel like Cam Newton wouldn't fit best there, because that offense is mostly designed to work with quarterbacks more like Jared Goff and like those guys, Mayfield.
I figured maybe Tennessee would be good because Mariota played there.
That's
Cam
true.
Newton's kind of a similar version of Mariota.
But Mariota doesn't rush as much. He's not as much as a running quarterback.
Well, I feel like he runs a lot more than Cam Newton. I haven't checked the numbers, but Mariota I feel like runs a lot more than Newton.
I think I don't think he runs as much as Newton.
Well, he
Newton
might not be able to because that pocket collapses on
That's
within
true.
1.5 seconds.
That's true. If I was Newton, I'd hate to go there. But honestly,
and the injuries that Newton holds on to,
it would be rough. But a team I would want him to see him at is the Bears.
Okay.
Because the Bears are one quarterback away from making some real noise. Their defense is still top 5. They still got some good weapons on offense with Tyreek Cohen. And I think those wide receivers do have hope. And so I do think that Cam Newton up there, it might be a bit cold for him, but I think he'll survive. And if he can make it happen, and he's used to being Superman. I mean, so he's used to carrying an offense like that. So he doesn't need that many weapons around him. So I think that he'll be fine in that offense. And if that defense backs him up, they could make some noise and really cause trouble.
I also wanted to bring up Chicago because Cam Newton, I mean, maybe aside from the Super Bowl year, he hasn't ever had a defense, and obviously not a defense like this right now in Chicago with Khalil Mack, Eddie Jackson, Kyle Fuller, all those weapons, and top 5 at least defense in the league. So I feel like if Cam Newton's healthy, he goes to Chicago, he is the guy on offense. I feel like he's going to thrive. Hopefully he can have a similar situation to his MVP year. I don't know so much about that because all these injuries that he's held on to after that year. But Chicago would be a good home. Again, like you said, he loves being Superman. He loves being the guy.
Yep.
He would be the focal point on offense. It'd be a good fit, I believe. Denver. Joe Flacco. We can talk about last night.
That's true.
While recording this, last night the Broncos-Chiefs played, like I mentioned. Joe Flacco, I mean, yes, the pocket collapsed a whole lot. Garrett Bowles can't
That's
stop
true.
holding on the left side of the line. And it's looking rough for the offense.
They did look really good against the Titans. I mean, it was the first time you guys shut out a team since 2017 against the Jets.
Wow.
So I think you guys
That
do.
sucks.
Yeah, but you guys, your defense is finally showing up, and I think you might not need to trade for a quarterback right now because you're not really trying to win anything.
Right. Which I don't think we will, but it'd be a good home, I would say.
Yeah.
And Cam Newton goes over there, and again, he's kind of in a similar situation. He would be the hero. Now with Phillip Lindsay, Cortland Sutton, Emmanuel Sanders. And then a solid
Your
defense.
number one wide receiver.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton. Yes, I know. But still, he would be a number 2 receiver anywhere else.
I don't know about that.
And the Broncos' defense isn't terrible, I would think. I mean, again, Titans, we shut them out. We
shut down Derrick Henry. Only had 28 yards for 15 carries.
We snagged, 3 interceptions and 7
sacks. Yep.
And unfortunately, Bradley Chubb couldn't be any of them. But, it is what it is.
Tier.
But, I mean, I feel like Cam Newton would thrive over in Denver, the team who beat him in the Super Bowl. I feel like it'd be kind of a homecoming in a way, but not really. So Denver, Chicago, Tennessee, and maybe Cincinnati.
Okay.
This is on the bottom of my list.
I'm not even putting this on
This
the
is
list.
why I want to say Cincinnati.
What?
It wasn't Marvin Lewis. We know that now because it's Andy Dalton in Cincinnati. All right? Cincinnati's going to be too cold for Cam Newton. They have terrible food. They're notoriously known for terrible food in Cincinnati. They have nothing going. They have no defense.
Really? They're really known for
They're
bad food?
notoriously known for having
that.
absolutely terrible food.
I did not know that.
And just cold.
Every time I
just
visit
crap.
there, they have decent shit.
Just bad. Cincinnati is just.
It's a cool name. I like the names for Cincinnati. That's
yeah,
a pretty
but I
good
mean, you
name.
go there and you're like,
Cincy?
oh, the name's better. The name is better than the city itself.
Okay.
So Cam Newton goes to Cincinnati. It's probably not going to be a great fit. He's not going to thrive because he doesn't
Rookie
have a whole.
coach.
Yeah, he'll have Tyler Boyd. He'll have AJ Green possibly.
Willie?
That's what I'm saying. Possibly. He'll have Joe Mixon, Giovanni Bernard, but again, no defense to back him up. But he's used to that, and I don't know. I mean, he's always, I guess, had a solid defense. Luke Kuechly, he had Josh Norman back when he was in his prime.
That's true. Thomas Davis Sr. I think.
Thomas Davis back when he was a little bit younger, back in a few years back. He's had a solid defense. Nothing crazy though, but. Cincinnati at the bottom of my list, but Pat McAfee was talking about Cincinnati being a possible home because Andy Dalton's the issue in Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't Marvin Lewis.
But right now, the Bengals are kind of like the Cavs in basketball, where they're tanking and they don't have hope. With the Dolphins, they're at least getting picks. They can trade their young guys. They're trying to bring in young guys. With the Bengals, they're just running out whoever's out there and just getting L's with no point in it. It's not even tanking. It's just losing. And it's rough because you have a rookie coach. You got Andy Dalton, who we've been known what he puts up, like one playoff loss if he gets there. That's his ceiling so far. You have a decent guy in Joe Mixon, but his career is getting wasted right now. I mean, he's right now probably a decent running back, like maybe top 20, top 30. I mean, he's getting it done, but without A.J. Green there, who, if I were him, I'd be demanding a trade because I don't want my years wasted just being at the bottom of division and a tough division at that. I mean, the Steelers are probably the best 1-4, 2-5 team in a long time. They got decent talent on there. Not talking about the Browns, who are, we've talked about how badly they are, but they still got talent on that roster. And Lamar Jackson, who I do want to talk about because he just put his name in the record books this last week with 150 rushing yards and 200 passing yards. So that division is ridiculously talented. So if I were the Bengals, I'd honestly be so sad if I'm a Bengals fan right now because you haven't even won a game and there's no hope. Yeah. There's no hope at the end of the tunnel.
So sticking with the Steelers, I see that they're starting to turn things around. They're on their second straight win.
I wish Mason Rudolph was there.
And their defense is legit. I'm not going to lie to you. Back when you said they were a top 3 defense, I didn't believe you. But you also were talking about the first 3 games they were a top 3 defense, which was just, that was blasphemous.
Hey, I believe
But now their defense is legit. Now if we were doing predictions on their defense, you were correct. But you were talking about those first few games when they were terrible. Absolutely.
Terrible. But this team.
But they're starting to turn things around.
This game mostly showed Mike Tomlin and him changing the game plan to work for his team, especially with Mason Rudolph out. James Conner looked like a star this game. He had 119 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns, and Delvin Hodges, the backup, he played decently, 75% completion. I mean, he made the throws. He knew what, and the one throw, his one interception was a really deep throw that he probably shouldn't have taken. But all the rest of them were good throws. He didn't go out of his bounds. I mean, that's what you want from a good backup who's not going to mess up and just gets you the win against a team of like the Chargers who are fully healthy. Like they don't they can't make up excuses like they usually do because usually they are injured.
And poor Chargers
on
fans
the road.
and Chargers. It was a home game in Los Angeles for the Steelers. I believe if I were to guess, there were more Pittsburgh fans over there, which is crazy because that is from crazy. East Coast to West Coast like that. I think they said 2,500 miles.
Like a lot of.
That's insane to have that many fans over there. But Steelers, yeah, they're turning things around. They're looking hot. They're looking like they're gonna end up second in the division unless the Ravens really start to really keep this decline. Because going back to the Bengals, they only lose by 6 to the Ravens last week.
I do have a confession to make.
What's up?
I gotta eat my words. Juju Smith-Schuster is underperforming.
Yes, he is. He is. I want to eat my words too.
I had so much hope for my man.
I was saying top 5 wide receiver.
Only 2 touchdowns after 6 games, and this man's gets 6 or more targets a game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not playing it. And now he has had rough quarterback play, but if you're having 6 or more targets a game, you got to do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the only main wide receiver on that team, pretty much the only elite weapon besides maybe Connor. So I gotta say, I was wrong on this one. I thought Juju would blossom. Maybe if Mason Rudolph was healthier, he would probably do better, or Ben Roethlisberger for that matter.
I think Juju's just not very good at adapting.
Exactly.
I think that he's so young yet that his only weakness is adapting to the quarterback style of play.
That's right.
Now he's played with 3 different quarterbacks in the same season. That ought to be tough as a receiver. But like I was mentioning, the Steelers are looking like they're kind of turning things around. Maybe not so much for a Super Bowl though.
Okay, not that.
Here's
far.
my Super Bowl bubble.
Oh, just jump right into it.
Good segues, dude. I'm working on the segues. They're sounding all right. They're sounding all right.
I got you.
My Super Bowl bubble includes. It's a little controversial.
Okay.
It was difficult to make this
Hot
list.
takes over here.
Super Bowl bubble includes the Patriots. Fair. The 49ers, they're undefeated. Had to throw them in there. Defense is definitely legit. I read off those numbers earlier. Don't give me that The defense is legit.
I don't trust Jimmy G. He's got to get a couple more TDs.
The Seattle Seahawks with MVP Russell Wilson.
All right.
And still the Kansas City Chiefs on my Super Bowl bubble. Mahomes is out 4 to 6 weeks. He's always going to come back come playoff time. If the Chiefs can just hold on. Matt Moore isn't terrible.
He's okay.
I wouldn't say he's bad. In
okay.
2017, he backed up. He was a backup for the Dolphins. And I think in those last 2 years, 2017 or 2018, he was like 2-3. Yeah, I have the stats right here.
He was
2-3. He threw for 1,500 pass yards, 12 touchdowns, 8 picks, 62% completion in those 5 games. Matt Moore can hold it down. So Pats, Niners, Seahawks, Chiefs in my bubble. Outside the bubble, in the hunt for the Super Bowl, I have the Texans, the Packers, and the Saints.
All right.
And that's it.
I think you're hating. You forgot a couple teams.
I forgot a couple teams I was waiting for. So hit me with what you got, Samson. Then we can kind of debate.
Yeah. I got, first of all, the Pats, Texans, Seahawks, and Chiefs in the bubble. I got more teams in the bubble because I think you gotta put a few more. You're not quite sure injury stuff. So I got Pats, Texans.
But I keep it real.
I think the Texans are in the bubble right now.
Okay.
Yes, Bill O'Brien hasn't shown anything crazy, but I think if they keep doing what they're doing, that line keeps protecting. It's gonna be tough playing against this team, and if they can get some kind of running game, this team could be dangerous. Yeah, I got the Seahawks. I got the Packers in the bubble.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers finally with a defense. Yeah, that's pretty tough. Now their wide receiving core is right now, it's so atrocious. It's so injured right now. I mean, they had a Lazard, I think was like as an actual like liable threat.
Yeah,
like that Aaron Rodgers even won that game is something I want to talk about. But yeah, he's in the bubble right now with the Saints. I think you can't sleep on the Saints. If they're winning games right now with Teddy Bridgewater, what they'll do with Drew Brees. Now,
especially
he's the old Drew
time.
Brees,
right.
But Drew Brees, healthy, rested Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Sean Payton knows what it takes to win in a weak conference. I mean, they were one pass interference call away from going to the Super Bowl last year. I mean, they probably should have, but hey, that's another discussion for another time. Now, outside of the bubble, I got the 49ers. If Jimmy G can be more consistent, I definitely could put him in there. But we'll have to see if they can continue that. And the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson still has enough talent combined with Mark Ingram, their explosiveness. I think they're your high bust, high boom right now of whether they could be in or out. They could really shock some teams or they could really in either way. And then I think in the hunt, you got the Eagles because Carson Wentz, as long as he's healthy, the Eagles are always going to be dangerous. Or maybe Nick Foles. Maybe he was the answer, but who knows. And the Bills. I think the Bills with Josh Allen. I think that defense.
As much as you talk on Jimmy G and you go, yeah, the Bills with Josh Allen.
Hey, look.
With Josh Allen.
They're in the hunt, okay? I didn't say they were in there. I said in the hunt because they took the Patriots to a 6-point game and almost beat them. So I think the Bills right now, I think they do have a chance. They're in the hunt. They're pretty far out. But as like the wild card, if like some miracle happens.
Okay, I need to do some explaining. So
all right,
back to my bubble with the Patriots. We'll start off with. I think it's an obvious choice to have in the bubble. They have been an obvious choice for the past 5 years now. You can't count out Tom Brady in the playoffs. I don't care how old he is.
You got to count him in the playoffs, pretty much.
Exactly. The defense is a top 2 defense. Over to the Niners.
All right.
Top 2 defense. When the offense gets rolling.
Jimmy G though.
Okay, but let me speak here.
Okay. All right.
I almost called you Austin. That's how upset I was with you.
That's tough. That's tough, man.
Top 2 defense. I read off the numbers. When that offense gets rolling, we saw it against the Browns. And I know they're not going to face the Browns in the playoffs. But, and it's not even so Jimmy G. It's Matt Breida. It's George Kittle. Breida, okay. It's George Kittle and TJ Yeldon now back.
You're right.
When they all get on that roll,
You're right.
that ball is moving on the offense side, and the defense gets hype. The defense loves when the offense is moving. I saw it in that Browns game. I saw it in the mic'd up on the NFL's YouTube. 49ers look like they got something going. And they're undefeated. You can't say they're not in the bubble.
That's true, but yeah.
Seattle Seahawks. I mentioned MVP Russell Wilson.
Yep, I agree.
Hasn't thrown an interception through 6 games. He's on a roll, obviously. The defense is holding up. Tyler Lockett's holding things down. Chris Carson's holding things down. The Seahawks look dangerous. Kansas City Chiefs, a team that I just can't count out for some reason. Pat Mahomes is just so daggum good.
Yep.
Kareem Hunt coming back. No, not Kareem Hunt. Plays for the Browns now. What was I going to say? With Damian Williams coming back, they even throw in Darrell Williams, right? They even throw in Darrell Williams, the 3rd string. LaShawn McCoy looks to be holding things down.
Damian Williams.
That's what I'm saying. Damian Williams coming back.
Yeah, there's Darrell Williams and there's
That's what I'm saying. Damian Williams coming back, and then because he was still like barely being utilized from the injury. And then Darrell Williams came in as the 3rd string and then was 2nd string with Damian out. He's looking solid. LaShawn McCoy. So they got a 3-man punch at running back. Tyreek Hill back now had a phenomenal game. They have
Don't forget
Travis Kelce. I know. I am getting there. They got Travis Kelce. They have a phenomenal receiving core. And when Pat Mahomes is healthy, it's Pat Mahomes. Y'all know Pat Mahomes.
One call also away from going to the Super Bowl.
Exactly. I have nothing else to say on Pat. I just got to say Pat Mahomes. You know exactly everything that has happened.
That's my job. I got to talk.
The only issue over there is the defense. If they could have gotten Jalen Ramsey via trade,
I got something.
It would have been all right. But what's up?
The Chiefs defense, though, we may give you that first down, but we're going to get the interception. Like, in the last couple games, I haven't got how many interceptions, but they consistently get stops, and that's over getting turnovers. They'll get sacks and stuff. Now, once you run the ball down our throats, we're done. I'm not even going to sit here and say that we're even close to getting beat. But if you try throwing against us, especially later, like late in games when mistakes happen, the Chiefs' defense has really been good at getting turnovers this past year. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, run the ball down our throats. But once you try, it's gonna be tough to really try to. You gotta not be sleeping. You gotta make sure that you don't try to take chances against the Chiefs' defense.
And they do have the Patriots later on in their schedule. Yep. Hopefully, Pat Mahomes can play so we can see a little preview for some playoff action, most likely, and not Matt Moore because I think the Patriots defense will just have to smother him. Yeah. But. Hopefully Pat Mahomes is back by then and we can see a little preview. But a Chiefs team is just a team that I can't count out. Then teams I got in the hunt for the Super Bowl. The Texans, Deshaun Watson, MVP favorite, outplays the Chiefs, outplays Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, takes that win. That was huge in my opinion. Yeah. Especially in Arrowhead.
So why is he not in the bubble? Is it better?
Or why is he not in the bubble? So come playoff time, every human being's a different animal in the playoffs. Chiefs, like I said, is just a team I can't count out. Yeah. A team I would pick over the Texans if it were the playoffs because it's just a different atmosphere. The Patriots, a team I would pick over the Texans in the playoffs, and a team I would pick over anybody right now in the playoffs just because it's the Patriots. We know how it goes for them in the playoffs.
That's true.
They make it work somehow, some way. So I picked 2 teams from each conference for my bubble just because I felt like that was the most fair. Okay. So I have Texans on the outside.
Right. But could you see the Texans being?
But yes, I mean, if they play like that come playoff time, I mean, we don't really know about the Texans in the playoffs. Yeah. We maybe know about a wild card here and there, but we don't really know about anything past that. If Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, that defense, most importantly, if they can get it done,
Watt,
if they can get it done, I mean, especially the defense, because that's the big thing is playing against those elite offenses like the Chiefs, and then I mean
Patriots.
I do want to say I don't want to say the Patriots offense is elite. I want to say they're suspect, but again, Tom Brady in the playoffs knows how to get it done.
Sony Michel is starting to turn it on though.
Starting to turn it on. So Texans, they're a little suspect because they have a really good game. They're having a good season. They're leading the division, but big game this Sunday. We'll see another test. And then the Packers, defense is great. Receiving core's hurt, but come playoff time, they'll be good hopefully. But I don't know about Aaron Rodgers, man. I just the offense in general, aside from the running backs, unless they want to run the offense through the run game, I don't know. It's looking a little suspect. And come playoff time, I know they're not going to want to stick to the ground more often than not because they have a guy named Aaron Rodgers at quarterback still.
But did you see that game against the Lions?
The Lions should have won. The Lions
should have won, but did they?
No,
Alan Lazard somehow got 65 yards and 1 touchdown. I think the main thing is
you
don't have enough
Devontae
names.
Adams, someone's got to step up.
That's true. You don't have enough names on the offense to really trust it. But as long as you got that bad man on there, I think you can carry Willem to a couple wins, especially now against the Seahawks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Against those tough teams later in the season.
Packers offense just a little too suspect for me.
But it is
like
tough.
The Texans defense. But the defense is there for Packers, just like how the offense is there for Texans. So then the Saints, obviously we need to see when Drew Brees comes back if they can get this momentum going and keep it going, I guess, with Teddy Bridgewater winning games. But really, it's just going to be that offense just doesn't look the same as last year. Kamara is not having a great season by all means. I mean, I don't even know if he's broken 100
Well, they're
plus yards
missing
in a single
Mark
game.
Ingram, so they're having him run through the tackles, which his body
and you mentioned that
isn't
multiple
used
times,
to that.
right.
So
Kamara's playing at a low level. Thomas really isn't anything crazy.
Hasn't
He's
been
holding it
dominant.
down. He's having a good year. But last year, I mean, he was in talks for that contract, that huge contract, and it was well worth it. But I mean, nothing crazy this year. You felt like he would maybe capitalize and just kind of put the cherry on top for us all. But yeah, when Drew Brees comes back again, he's getting old too. We'll have to see how this playoff atmosphere can hold up for that offense for the Saints. So that's why they're kind of sitting on the outside because the Patriots, 49ers, Seahawks, they're and the Chiefs, they're not complete teams either.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the teams outside the bubble are outside the bubble because they're not complete teams because Patriots offenses look suspect. Niners quarterback Jimmy G's look a little suspect. Seahawks defense, I don't know how long they're going to keep the consistency. Chiefs defense, again, suspect. A lot of teams have a lot of flaws.
Yeah.
But really, it's all down to the eye test. I mean, it's just watching these games, looking how they play, the it factor, that one guy who steps up on a consistent basis day in, day out, and who's going to hold it down from the most in the playoffs. So I went, like I said, Patriots, Niners, Seahawks, Chiefs, Super Bowl favorites.
But then who on the Niners has that it factor?
That defense is something incredible. I mean,
That's
it's really the defense. The it factor, I guess, for the Niners, it's the defense. But it's just when they get the ball rolling on offense, that team that's what pushes me or helps me push them into the bubble instead of sitting in the hunt because they are undefeated. Yeah. And when that offense gets rolling, it's nice. But it's really just that whole defense at the it factor because I never could have guessed that their defense would be putting up the numbers they're putting up.
And I think their offense will run well in later in the year as it's harder to throw and you'll need to run the ball, especially in the playoffs. So I could definitely see the 49ers having a better offense and maybe not needing Jimmy G as much. But you still need a quarterback, though, later in games when it gets tougher to get down the ball or when you just need to you have a 2-minute drill and you need a touchdown to win, especially against high-powered offense against like Seahawks, Eagles, who they'll have to play in the playoffs and the Packers, Saints with Drew Brees. They'll definitely need some their quarterback to get points on the board.
And that's what I'm saying. They're a little suspect, but being undefeated, we don't have any losses to judge the Niners off of.
That's true.
And that's all due to this defense.
That's true.
And that's why you can't leave them outside of that Super Bowl bubble. So that's really all I got for main topics. I was ready to get in predictions unless you had some other big key points to talk on. I'm fine with whatever.
I didn't have anything crazy. Just want to give a shout out to my man's Kyler Murray. There
you go.
Finally growing. Main reason why I did is because his passes are a lot deeper. That offense definitely seemed to be getting settled, and he is one of my favorite quarterbacks. So, I had to shout him out. But that's about it. Nothing else
He's
crazy.
impressed me. He got a win last week against the Falcons. I mean, He's impressed me a little bit more than what I was expecting through those first couple of weeks. It was looking a little rough. Like I had mentioned in the earlier podcast, Cliff Kingsbury was kind of shell-shocking with how many passes he was giving to him.
He was just like...
But Kyler Murray was going to have to adjust. That's the offense he was going to have to run. It wasn't like he wasn't in that type of offense. So we played at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They're kind of used to that air raid. But
that's true. But
I felt like he was a little shell-shocked for an NFL rookie to just be throwing 50 passes a game like that, to not be really utilizing David Johnson like they should have been. I know he wasn't 100%. Yeah. But still... Even now, it's looking a little sus.
And the last thing is Gardner Minshew. The magic is finally over. First L against the Saints, 13-6. And this was hard to see. Like it was so close, and you just feel like he would get the job done, and he just didn't. 48% completion rate, 163 yards, 1 interception, and it was mostly the Saints and their pressure. I mean, they put rookie quarterback under pressure, 3 sacks, and not that much, but it was mostly dropbacks. He had to make really tough throws, and against an elite defense, they really shut down Minshew. And I mean, it was obviously a defensive game, 13-6.
Right.
So we'll have to see if Minshew can bounce back. Kind of sad to see the mustache go down, but yeah, you got to lose sometime.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
finally play like a backup quarterback.
That's tough, but so, yeah, I'm ready to get
ready for predictions. All right, I'm gonna start Eagles Cowboys. I think I mentioned this earlier. I'm picking the Eagles. Cowboys have lost 2 straight. They're looking real rough. I mean they lost 2 straight. Yeah. I was thinking about that. But
wait, the Cowboys have lost 3 straight.
Oh, is it 3
now?
Yeah,
they've lost 3 straight.
Oh, they started off 3.
Yeah,
that's 3 straight. Yeah, I was going to say, I felt like something was up.
Laughing at
right. Cowboys on a 3-game lose streak. Dak Prescott, I don't know if he's going to be able to hold down versus the Eagles defense. Eagles defense look like they're stepping it up. It's in Dallas.
This is my coin flip of the week.
Okay.
I honestly don't know who's going to win. This one is hard to pick because one side you got a good Super Bowl winning coach, and a great quarterback in Carson Wentz, MVP candidate earlier in the year, last year. So I think they definitely have the talent to come together, beat the Cowboys on the road. They have to see if their wide receivers can keep track of the ball, hold on to the ball, because they're known for dropping it often. But against the Cowboys, who have a decent secondary, that's still a good defense. It's not like a top 5, but it's still like a top 10, top 15. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Eagles will get stopped early and if they can make a comeback, especially on the road. And against a good run game, a great running back in Ezekiel Elliott, top 5 running back right there with Dak Prescott, who has been a bit inconsistent. So we'll have to see if he can throw well against a really hurt Eagles secondary. They have Ronald Darby out, a couple other guys who are hurt. So their secondary is weak. So the Cowboys should win this game, but I feel like the Eagles have what Marco said, that it factor. And then maybe they're on
a roll. They're hot. Cowboys are anything
prime
but
time
hot.
game. I think they'll go all out, and I think the division rival. So I think, and they want to put their enemy in the ground. I mean, if they get this win, it's going to be a pretty big emotional jump, not only in the standings but mentally. So I think I give the Eagles this win.
Rams versus Falcons. I think this is an obvious choice as much as we bash on the Rams, but they bring in Jalen Ramsey to just help bash in the Atlanta Falcons this week. I'm picking the Rams. The Falcons have been terrible all season. They continue to be terrible. They lose to the Cardinals. I'm picking the Rams. I think it's an obvious choice.
This may be a cheeky pick, but I got to go with the Falcons on this one. They were a 2-point conversion away from winning last week's game. Yes, It was against Cardinals. They're at home. I think Falcons are sick of losing. The Rams right now are reeling. They still haven't figured out the whole team. On the road, Falcons are pretty good at home. And I think right now Austin Hooper is starting to show tight end. He's starting to put up elite numbers. And I think that Matt Ryan may pull a comeback on this team. They might get down early, but I think the Rams right now don't know what they want to do. And I think with trying to bring in new running backs like Henderson, rookie off the bench, trying to figure out what to do.
Well, Henderson's been kind of holding it down as the backup.
That's true.
I mean, he's been
okay, but I feel like they just haven't. Like McVay is right now.
They don't know what to do with Jared Goff.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly. And that defense right now, adjusting with Jalen Ramsey. I mean, he might play well in this game. He might not. But right now, I trust Falcons at home in this. So
yeah, I agree. The Rams offense is looking a little suspect. I'll keep on going back to that.
Yeah.
Well, we might name the episode "Little Suspect."
Yeah.
But yeah, and we bashed on Jared Goff enough this podcast.
Yeah.
But that defense, and they add Jalen Ramsey, it's going to be too much for the Falcons offense. The Falcons, it's just been terrible all season.
Don't forget Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones.
Yeah, okay, we can remember those guys,
good.
but we can also remember that they're 1-5 now. So
all right, we'll have to see.
Bills versus Dolphins. Obvious pick here. I'm going with the Bills. The
Yep.
defense is elite. Dolphins are the worst team in the league. Obvious pick, going with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it's a little easy, but it's my lock of the week. We'll get into the reason why it's not the Patriots. But, yeah, I think at home, the Bills get it done off of the bye, all rested.
I didn't
Definitely
even think
go
of
with
that.
the Bills.
Jags versus Bengals. I'm going with the Jaguars. Bengals, again, similar situation as the Dolphins and Falcons, in my opinion. They haven't won a game all year, just like the Dolphins, and they remind me a lot of the Falcons. They have some weapons here and there, but they just can't figure it out. Easy pick. Picking the Minshew Magic over the Bengals. Bengals have been absolutely terrible.
Hopefully Minshew gets his mojo back in this game on the road. I think he'll get it done. And yeah, we'll have to see if Fournette can put up numbers against this defense too. Hopefully they'll try out some new things, figure out their kinks against this offense, and figure out a defense without Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
You know, they still got some, like you said, Tyler Boyd. So they got some okay weapons on this Bengals offense. So hopefully the secondary can use this week to work out the kinks as they lose a pretty good cornerback, top 2 in the league, maybe best one. So, but yeah, the Jags definitely win this one on the road.
Next game here, and I just was looking through my predictions, and I found my lock of the week. I forgot that Bills-Dolphins game wasn't my lock. We'll get to it later. But right now, my coin flip of the week, the Lions versus the Vikings.
Okay.
And I'm going with the Lions.
All right.
A little bit of an edge, but I've been talking high on the Lions these past couple of episodes. They should have beat the Packers. They had, 2 or 3 false penalties. And they were close. Now, yes, I know they should have beat them, but they didn't. Packers won. It was still close, so the Lions put up a good fight. Lions looking solid. Defense is good. T.J. Hawkinson, Matt Stafford's been playing consistent, something we haven't seen from him in years now. And Kerryon Johnson and that receiver, always forget his name.
Kenny
Galladay is an elite receiver.
Okay,
he is a number one
not.
receiver.
He's not
I have seen him make plays.
He is a number one.
I have seen him make plays that top 20 and beyond receivers cannot make. Galladay has made his way into the top 15, I would say. I haven't sat down and made a list, so I don't want to.
That's
quote
true,
me on
but
anything.
he has been pretty good.
He has been making elite plays, and that's only helped Stafford stay consistent. Vikings offense a little suspect. I'm gonna keep going back to it. They're really inconsistent.
That's true.
And I don't know how well Kirk Cousins can play on a consistent basis. Again, it's really all on Kirk Cousins because Dalvin Cook is the top 5 leading rusher in the league in rushing yards. Stephon Diggs goes ahead and snacks 3 touchdown catches.
Yep,
We all know Thielen.
167 yards.
We all know Thielen's an absolute beast when he gets the ball in his hands. The defense has been doing their thing. Again, kind of like the Los Angeles Rams. It all goes down to the quarterback. If Kirk Cousins can really, really play, they definitely have a shot at beating the Lions. I'm going to go with the Lions just because I don't believe in Kirk Cousins.
I'm going with the Vikings on this one. It's hard to pick Vikings on the road because right now they're undefeated at home. So when they're on the road, they're a bit shaky. And Kenny Galladay is a sneaky good wide receiver. I don't think he's quite elite, but I would give him top 15. He is a good wide receiver. I think right now, though, the Lions don't have that good of a pass rush, and if Kirk Cousins is protected, I think he can tear up most off defenses. He has Stephon Diggs, and yes, Darius Slay's on the other team, but he has 2 good wide receivers because he's got Adam Thielen, still has Kyle Rudolph, and if they can run that ball, I think definitely the Vikings do get this win on the road. Unless they get pressure on Kirk Cousins, then I could see the Lions winning, but right now, I believe Vikings get this W.
Next game, Packers versus Raiders. I have to go with the Packers. It's another kind of coin flip, close to being a coin flip. I give it 60-40. The Raiders look like they're on a roll. The offense is looking hot for the season being. For the first few games, they were looking like we all would have expected, and now they're figuring things out. Defense is figuring things out. But I have to go with the Packers. Defense is top 5 in the league. Offense looks like they've kind of found their footing. The running backs are absolutely dominating. I'm going with the Packers.
If the Raiders had Antonio Brown and a bit better of a defense, I could talk myself into this win, but they don't have either. And I think the Packers, right now, Josh Jacobs, is mostly the main point of this offense. And I think because he's the main focus, it's pretty easy to game plan for this because Derek Carr, yes, they have a great tight end in Waller. Can't remember his first. I think it's Darren Waller, but I'm not quite sure. So he does have a couple weapons. Darren Waller. Yeah. But I think that offense isn't good enough yet. They do make some up. They do have some little spunkiness. There's a little being underrated. They can surprise a couple people, but I don't think they'll surprise them on Lambeau against the Packers, who at home they're really tough to beat. Aaron Rodgers, yes, he is a little banged up, but I think he'll get it done again with a good defense.
Another possible coin flip of the week, the Houston Texans versus the Indianapolis Colts. Big divisional
That's
matchup.
tough.
It's in Indianapolis.
Tough.
The Texans are hot. The Colts are hot.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm going to go with the Texans, Samson.
All right.
I feel like you're going to pick the Colts here. But again, I don't know if I have 100% faith in Jacoby Brissett. He's played well. He's played great, especially for being a backup quarterback at heart. He's played great.
That's true.
Marlon Mack, his consistency is a little low. The defense consistency is definitely low because they just stomped the Chiefs offense a couple weeks ago, only allowing 13 points.
Yep.
It's in Indianapolis. If they let the home crowd get them hyped up, if the defense can play like they did against Kansas City, I mean, both these teams have beat Kansas City this season. That's huge. I'm picking the Texans just because of Deshaun Watson being an MVP candidate and just how hot they are right now.
Yeah, I got to apologize to all my Colts fans because we know a couple of friends who are Colts fans, and I got to go with the Texans on this one. Right now, we have Deshaun Watson as at least my pick right now for MVP. I think right now he is probably going to win this game with like 3-4 touchdowns maybe because so far that secondary for the Colts hasn't really shown up. Yes, they did shut down the Mahomes, but that was when he was kind of injured. He wasn't making his throws. They were way off. So I don't trust that Colts. And also their secondary is kind of banged up. So I think with a healthy Deshaun Watson with great wide receivers, and sure, Jacoby Brissett is going to play well, he has been playing well, especially as a backup. But with that pressure, the pass rush with J.J. Watt, I think that the Texans can get to him and make him make some bad throws. So at home, I think the Colts take this L.
Next game, an absolutely useless game, the Cardinals versus the Giants. I'm going with the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, I've been liking his play lately. Same thing with Larry Fitzgerald.
That's true.
They come off a win against the Falcons. The Giants, everyone's hurt on that team, it seems like. I'm going with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'll definitely go with the Cardinals in this one, too. We'll have to see when Saquon Barkley can come back. But
I did see that he's coming back this Sunday. That might actually push them over the edge to beat the Cardinals. Saquon's a big focal point on the offense.
That's true with Danny Dimes.
I already picked the Cardinals. I'll stick with it.
Yeah, I'll still stick with Cardinals, mostly because I think Kyler Murray is starting to figure out this offense. I think Cliff Kingsbury, they're starting to mesh together, starting to get how his offense translates to the NFL. So I think that with Kyler Murray adjusting to the speed of these older guys, I think he'll get this win against the Giants.
The San Francisco 49ers versus the Washington Redskins. Redskins coming off their first win, but this is my lock of the week. I've talked high on the Niners this podcast. I'm going to continue to do it. The defense is going to smother the Redskins. Easy pick here. My lock of the week, the Niners over the Redskins.
I could see this being as a lock. 49ers definitely. Hopefully, this will be the game that Jimmy G can build his confidence and start to step up in this offense. So it gives Kyle Shanahan even more weapons to work with. Because right now, if Shanahan can figure out a way to have Jimmy G also throwing great along with the misdirection of Breida and all the run game, it'll be a really tough team to stop with that really good defense. I could see them continuing to be undefeated on the road.
Next game, Chargers versus Titans. Another coin flip almost. Now, Titans are playing Ryan Tannehill instead of Mariota.
That's true.
We haven't seen a lot of play from Tannehill recently. Obviously, Mariota being the starter for this team throughout the start of the season. Tannehill was just starting to get good, though, in Miami when the Dolphins traded him. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I feel weird picking them, though. They're the most predictable team in the league. And they continue to be consistently predictable.
Yeah.
They have, and Keenan Allen came out retweeting a tweet saying, how are the Chargers playing the same game every single game? And he's like, I hear you, I know. I don't know what the deal is. We got to figure something out. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I just feel like they're the better team than the Titans, as bad as they have been recently. I think they're on a 2-game lose streak, maybe even 3. They've looked a little rough, but I don't have a lot of faith in Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Both of these teams are known, at least this past season, for choking. And right now, I think, though, because Mariota is hurt, it won't be as close of a game. And so that's why I do give the Chargers this win with healthy across the board. And but we'll have to see if Tannehill can maybe resurrect his career. But I don't think it's going to happen, at least not in this game. So, yeah, I do think that the Chargers are also going to win. Hopefully Melvin Gordon can bounce back from this past week because he looked pretty bad.
Yeah. Saints versus Bears. Mitch Trubisky is optimistic to play Sunday, but even if he does, I'm picking the Saints. They're super hot. They're on a roll, but I could definitely see the Bears take it. I mean, again, defense is there. They've been healthy. But even if Trubisky plays, I just think the Saints are the better team still. I'm going with the Saints.
I think this will be a good week to watch Teddy Bridgewater and see the steps he's made, because it'll be a pretty good defense he'll be playing against. And we'll have to see if Sean Payton will be able to take the pressure off of him and put it onto the rest of the teammates like Taysom Hill, who they seem to like putting like different kinds of plays, confusing the defense, and we'll have to see how the defense reacts to that. But if Teddy Bridgewater can come out the victor in this one, I think that the Saints will be pretty tough to stop. And right now, even with Mitch Trubisky, I think this defense will Bears offense will definitely struggle against an elite defense like the Saints.
That's what I'm saying. We're probably going to see 3 or 4 Bears turnovers on the offensive side. We're probably going to see Cam Jordan get to Trubisky or Chase Daniel a couple of times. That'll be the big thing, is the Bears turnovers on offense.
Yeah. So I definitely think the Saints will win this game.
Seahawks versus Ravens, big game for both teams. It's a hard game to pick. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Again, Russell Wilson hasn't thrown an interception all year. My MVP favorite. Ravens are coming off of only a 6-point win versus the Bengals. They're kind of having to switch the flow of the offense now. Now we're seeing that offensive line collapse a little bit more than it was in the first few games of the season. And now Lamar Jackson is having to utilize his run game, which is fine. He's a great running quarterback. Like you mentioned earlier, first to have 200 and 150 in a regular season game or something like that. And they just need to figure out how to win now and win big, and win against good teams like the Seahawks. And once they figure that out, then I'll think about it. But I'm going with the Seahawks.
Yeah, this will definitely be a statement win for the Ravens if they can get this win on the road, because beating Seattle in Seattle is really hard. Like that stadium is loud. I mean, they definitely bring on the pressure. So I think Russell Wilson will get it done at home. Right now, he's on fire. It seems like he can do no wrong. And hopefully he can I think he'll carry this team even with a kind of shaky defense. We'll have to see. I think Wilson is built for a shootout. He can hang with the best of them, and this will definitely be a test to see if he can continue to carry this team even in the playoffs. So yeah, I could definitely go with the Seahawks though.
And last but not least, Patriots versus the Jets. Obviously going to pick the Patriots here. Much better team. The Jets are coming off of a good win. I'm not going to lie. They beat the Cowboys. Yeah, sure. Cowboys were going in that game on a 2-game lose streak. But again, they have a big issue at head coach. Jets took advantage.
Yep.
Sam Darnold had a good game. Receivers look great. Defense looked great, as they should. The Jets defense, we've talked good on the Jets defense all year. We've been there for the Jets D, and they capitalized on that. I think I just have to pick the Patriots here. I don't think anyone in the last 3 years has said Jets over Patriots, or the last 15 years for that matter, have said Jets over Patriots. So I'm obviously picking the Patriots here.
Well, Marco, I think you're witnessing history.
Oh my goodness!
It's
just as I say that.
Upset of the week.
Oh.
I'm going with the Jets. All right. Look, I think the Bills already tested the Patriots at home. Okay. And I think the Jets, with Sam Darnold back, with those great wide receivers, I think they can stretch that really talented. I really like this secondary. Probably will end up being one of my favorite groups of all time. But I think with all these weapons and with maybe the Patriots overestimating, yes, they're known for their culture, but they're still human beings. They still think, oh, it's just the Jets. So with all these weapons, I do think they can stretch out that defense, give them different looks, maybe pound the ball one drive, maybe have an air raid next drive. And I think this defense is a little underrated. Jamal Adams, great leader. They got some decent weapons on that defense. So I think they can stop Tom Brady. And if this high-powered offense right now doesn't show in the stats, but it can be high-powered against this defense at home, I think the Jets do get this upset of the week. And one quick note, I did pick the Broncos over my Chiefs.
I picked the Chiefs, to be honest with you. I did pick the Chiefs.
I kind of did pick the Broncos because I love you guys' offense. And I just felt like on the road, I didn't think the Chiefs were going to win it. But hey, look, it's a win-win situation for me. Yeah, either I'm right or my team wins. So. But yeah.
Well, that's all we got for today. Thank you guys for tuning into episode 5. We should have maybe another episode Monday over NBA. We'll see how that goes now that I've joined Communique.
LeBron making
the scheduling is going to work. But
not
yeah,
the brightest moves.
LeBron, China doesn't like LeBron right now.
Yeah, I guess not.
Tough situation. But yeah, maybe look forward to an episode on Monday possibly. Again, thank you guys for tuning into episode 5 of our NFL episodes. I think episode 6 total now.
Yep.
And we'll catch you later.